We expected the future to have flying cars and jetpacks, but cities like San Francisco and Oakland are trying their best to turn it into a dystopian nightmare. It's like RoboCop and Blade Runner levels bad. In this video, we're talking about the new and improved recruits of the police. Trust us, it's not what you think, so stay until the end of the video to learn all about it. First up, what got the vote of approval? The San Francisco Board of Supervisors voted to allow police officials to use ground-based robots. Yes, robots, to handle suspects and other threats. You heard that right. Well, the big surprise was probably spoiled by the title of this video. We thought unfunny billionaires taking over the internet would lead to societal collapse, but it turns out the actual professionals who are responsible for more pressing matters are just as wild. This sounds like some Black Mirror episodes, and if you've seen any of their episodes, nothing ends well. Luckily, this measure is only allowed if the lives of innocents are at risk. As we know how safe and trustworthy police officers are these days, what could go wrong? Certainly, they won't take this to their advantage and use it unlawfully, right? Why would they do that? Okay, in case you're bad at picking up tones from people, we were being sarcastic there. The policy is also only eligible when every other method to de-escalate the situation has been used. So, in this case, just giving a single warning, right? An officer would just yell, "Hey," and unleash his pet Terminator 3 on anyone who walks differently. Okay, we're sorry for being anti-police, but any sort of neutrality would be mistaken for propaganda, right? Better safe than sorry. Believe it or not, the San Francisco Police Department has actually been working with robots for quite some time now, so this isn't completely a shock to the world. Coming up with the history of robots in America. You'd think this sort of technological advancement would still take time, but the country has been working on robo-warfare for a while now. In 2016, police in Dallas deployed a robot with an extending arm carrying a C4 explosive to deal with a sniper who had killed 5 officers. The culprit, Micah Xavier Johnson, was unapproachable because he ambushed the group of officers, making him a very dangerous threat. The outcome of this explosive situation was a debate to decide whether the law enforcement should be allowed to use robots to deal with suspects. According to Chronicle, the SFCD had acquired around a dozen functioning robots since 2010. Luckily, none of them have been assigned to kill a human, nor are they capable of using any lethal force. We can't believe we said a sentence like that out loud. It's like we're reporting the news of a Transformers movie. We've also seen many movies online of robots going through intense training. You've probably seen them. It's either them jumping over hurdles or climbing a set of stairs. We're not sure if those videos are fake, but they're still fun to watch. Who knew that this would have eventually led to a killer robot nightmare if the clips were real? Well, almost everyone did. We didn't know law enforcement would be so careless with passing a bill like using them to kill humans. Following up with the divided reactions. Supervisors in the San Francisco board meetings favored this new policy to empower the police force because of the countless mass shootings that have taken place over the years. The Public Defender's Office sent a letter to the board and called his approach to be dehumanizing and militaristic, which to some extent is true. They're giving way too much power to the guys who are supposed to stop you from crossing a red light. Board President Shamann Walton made a good point about how brute force and weapons are almost always used solely on people of color. Adam Bercovici, a law enforcement expert and former Los Angeles Police Department lieutenant, gave a very centrist look at things. He said that these delicate policies should be carefully written and shouldn't be the first choice of action, but a last resort. Although advocates have reassured the board and general public that they'll only use their pet robots under extreme circumstances, people who've seen too many movies and possess a functioning brain think otherwise. Many of us assumed climate change would lead to the end of civilization, but it turns out it'll be a squad of tin cans with a badge on. Let's talk about how this would affect society. Alright, no more sarcastic remarks, because it's time to get serious. We may come off a bit too political, but first of all, we're talking about RoboCops here. It's going to get somewhat political. Ever since June 2020, the world has realized the true face of police officers as nothing but unlawful people who use their power against minorities. If these people got their hands on super strong, unstoppable robots, many people would be at a huge disadvantage. You've seen the news and the bias. It's nightmare fuel. If there was a plus side to any of this, it would be that they're only allowed to use these RoboCops in emergencies like bomb threats or hostage situations. You know, places where police officers aren't brave enough to enter on their own, like a school where a teenager half their size is holding a gun that's way cheaper than the ammunition they carry. Last but not least, the reassurance to all this. Dystopian sheriffs may be scary at first glance, but there is good news. The board made it clear that only a limited number of high-ranking officials have the authority to use these robots. So don't worry, Californians. Wall-E won't chase you on steroids if you're seen loitering. The bill hasn't been completely passed because there are still some members of the higher-ups who are completely against all of this. In hopes of precautionary measures, it's been pointed out that this could open up Pandora's box and change our society significantly. A supervisor named Hillary Ronan said this, and to be honest, we've heard something like this in a movie before. For all the pessimists out there, this is only the beginning. It could be one of the few horrors leading to a wasteland, as seen in post-apocalyptic films. Other horrors, of course, include climate change, the end of Earth's resources, Elon Musk being in control of everything while simultaneously being the unfunniest man alive, and a comet causing mass extinction. But hey, at least these robots don't have any weapons locked and loaded, right? Moving on to more man-made horrors beyond our comprehension. First and foremost, what's going on in Oakland? When most Americans and Californians are playing it safe and still keeping these potential killer robots on hold, Oakland decided to go all in and hand their technocops a shotgun. Have none of you seen Futurama? A country full of Bender does not end well. The Oakland Police Department has come up with a percussion-actuated non-electric disruptor, or PAN for short. This thingamajig is a shotgun-shaped accessory that's given to robots with wheels, like bomb-diffusing ones or those deployed in the war. Keyword: war. The Oakland police are thinking of using these the same way San Francisco might use their robots. We get the metaphors about cities being in war zones and whatnot, but don't you think this is going a bit too far? Following up with details about the robots, when we mention the PAN, don't think of a jacked-up robot holding an array of guns in its holster. Think of it like a carrier for either high-pressured water or a blank. In other words, a military-grade water gun. In a meeting regarding the rules and facilities to be provided to the Oakland police, Amar Daza-Quaros represented the department in discussions over the robot use policy. When asked what would happen if the PAN carried an actual bullet, the advocates were silent because everyone knew the answer to the rhetorical question. The hypothetical situation gave them a reason to consider PANs being loaded with live bullets. Fast forward to a bunch of boring proceedings and meetings, and it looks like Oakland is one step closer to using these RoboCops with loaded shotguns to stop threats like littering. Lastly, is there any good news to this? Unfortunately, unlike San Francisco, the Oakland Police Department decided to grant armed robots to the task force. This was, of course, only in the case of emergencies. That earlier littering was a joke, so feel free to miss that paper ball after yelling Jordan. Okay, don't do that. Think of the turtles. But knowing the police, the word emergency is just an excuse to describe a situation that favors them and gives them the upper hand. Seriously though, what emergency could a robot with a gun possibly be used for? Are they facing Thanos? No man, in some unfortunate cases, children need to be manhandled by a tin can that probably weighs a ton. Mass shooters or extreme threats, what's more important is to train your guys well and limit the average officer's visits to his nearest Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, no more politics because that's the end of the video. What are your thoughts on this lovely way to implement gun control in the US? Let us know in the comments below. As always, leave a like and hit that subscribe button to see more of our content, and we'll see you in the next one.